Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I would love for you to hang around by clicking that subscribe button and the bell next to it so you don't miss another video. Today's video is going to be a furniture makeover. I know a lot of you like this style of videos. I'm going to be making over this bench that I had in my room that was super drab, and I made it over so that it can fit into my decor. Today's video is also in collaboration with Christine Pena. I've collabed with her before. She does amazing lifestyle, cleaning, decor, wellness, and DIY makeovers, so I know a lot of you will enjoy her content. So go ahead and go check out her video, which I will link below, and check out her channel. So let's get right into it. So this is the before. The bench was brown and had some stains in it. I actually have had this for over 10 years and it has lasted me for a long time. And so it was really long overdue. The first thing I did was to take off the bottom piece, and I took it out and gave it a nice coat of spray paint. I used the Rust-Oleum Bright Silver. Then I removed the duster. Everything was stapled on, so it was really easy to remove. And I'm going to be keeping that because I'm going to reuse it. So this whole makeover lasted 2 days because of interruptions, and also I used everything that I already had in my home, so it cost me $0. So I removed the old cover. I just cut it off because I could not remove the staples on the back. There were so many. So I just decided to cut it off. I kept the foam piece. I did want to add additional padding, but the needle that I had would not go through it, so I just decided to just keep everything the same. So I used a piece of paper and made a design and put all my measurements down to see where I needed to drill. So I used the lines on the piece of paper to count 2 inches, and this is what I came up with. This is definitely a measure 3 times before you start drilling, otherwise you're going to mess up everything. So make sure you measure, and make sure that your spacing is right and your math is right and your lines are also straight. So here is the design right there. The diamond shape doesn't really matter, it's just the drill holes that are important. The 2 big holes were already there. So I started drilling, and yes, I am drilling on my white carpet. Like, who does that? It turns out everything was okay once I vacuumed, thankfully, but I really wasn't thinking. I was just trying to get this done. Everything is good. So once I had my holes drilled, I started making my marks for where I was going to be poking through to do the tufting. I just use an upholstery needle. Mine is a little bit shorter than most. It's actually a doll making needle that I got a while ago. So I just poked it through and made a mark. Now I'm using a pen. I ended up getting a Sharpie because I couldn't see the pen marks. And wherever I had the holes, I used a pair of scissors to just kind of eat up a little bit of the foam. I didn't want to do too much cutting because I was afraid that the buttons I was going to use would go through and ruin the whole foam because I'm reusing the foam. And so I just kind of cut a little bit through it to make it easier to find when I'm going to be putting through my button. So I didn't have one of those foam dusting pads, so I'm using an old curtain. Actually, I'm using 2 old curtains that I had that are not long enough for my home and that I'm not going to be using. So this one's super thin. It's like a satin finish. I just went ahead and stapled it over the foam. Made sure also that I had a lot extra fabric, and then the excess I can always cut off. It's better to cut things off than to not have enough. Now here is the top cover. I'm using this old curtain that I had. I went ahead and gave it a nice little ironing, and that was it for that day. So I came back the next day. So it turns out I did not have any threading that I could use for this, so I decided to use this Dollar Tree wire. Now, if you're going to be using wire like I am, you want to make sure that you're careful so that you don't poke your fingers, because I did poke my finger a couple times. So what I did is I cut a piece of wire, I threaded it through my button. This was also something I already had in my DIY arsenal. And then I put it through like I would any thread. I fed it through. And then on the other end, I took both ends and fed it through the upholstery needle. And thankfully, the eye of that needle is gigantic, so it's really easy to do. Once that was fed through, I just bent the end of the wire over once. I didn't want to do too much because then my hole would be too big. So I just bent it once, and then I ended up with this little contraption that you see here with the needle at the bottom and the button at the top. Next, all I had to do was to find my marking underneath, which I could see because I use a red Sharpie. And then I just poked my hole through the fabric and through the foam, and then use my other hand to kind of feel around and pull it through. And because I already kind of cut some of the foam a little bit, it was easier to do it that way. And also because I'm using wire, I had to make a bigger hole than normal in the fabric, but that was also fine. And basically all I did was pull through the button and tightened it up. Now what I wish I did was create a pleat right there. I was debating whether I wanted a pleat or just wanted to have a clean look, and I really wish I had created a pleat before I put the needle through. So basically fold the fabric a little bit and then you put the needle through so you have the nice crisp line. Once it was through, I flipped it over and pressed down the fabric to have a really deep tufting, and then I just stapled the wire in the zigzag motion just to make sure it was secure. Then I just cut off the excess wire and then tucked it back, and this is what it looked like. And you can see it's doing a really nice tufting. I just really wish I had folded the fabric to give it a nice crisp line. So I did one side and then I worked on the other, and here's the exact same process sped up. So I cut my wire, feed it through the button, put both ends through the upholstery needle, bend it once, find my hole. I had to make the hole a little bit bigger with the scissors, pull through, and at this point I flip it over and then I staple it in a zigzag motion in the back. I kind of use the needle to help me get a little bit more pulling power so that my hands wouldn't hurt too badly. But I do press down on the foam and then I pull the wire as far as it will go, and then I'll staple it. And this is what the all the tufting looks like once it was done. And then I realized I really wanted the pleats, so I just kind of created them with whatever extra fabric I could find, and then I ironed them over. Now when it came down to securing the fabric onto the piece of wood, I did create my pleat and folded it down, and then I stapled it on the back to secure it. So all that was left to do was basically pull the fabric nice and taut, making sure it's straight in the way I want it to look in the front, and then just staple it to the back of the wood. Once everything was stapled, I just cut off all the excess fabric. Gave it a few extra staples just for good measure. And then I looked in the front, make sure everything looked the way I wanted it to look. And then I stapled the duster to the back and put back the legs onto the wood and screwed everything back on, which is very easy to do. And then, you know me, I have to have my glam crystal pieces. So I have this piece from Totally Dazzled, and then I have the other one that I already had. So here's a before. And here's another look at the after. You guys let me know which one you think would be better. Is the starfish better, or is the one that I used here better? Everything is just kind of hot glued with a tiny bit of hot glue, so I can easily remove it. I really love how this turned out. I had never done anything like this before in my life. This is my first time tufting or upholstering anything, and I think I did a pretty good job. I did learn some stuff along the way that if I decide to do this again, that I will definitely be implementing, like creating that crease. And yeah, you guys, I love this so much. It's so nice. I do wish I could have made it a little bit thicker, but hey, it works. It really works with my space. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. Please check out Christine's channel. And I thank you guys so much for watching. I will talk to you in my next video. God bless and bye-bye.